What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode 90 of The Charge to the Top here with Hereford FC. And today we are back for the start of season 11 and our second season here in the Premier League. And let me tell you now, it's been a weird summer, but I feel really optimistic about what we can do this year. Of course, last season, an 8th place finish, perhaps in line roughly with expectations. I would have liked to have challenged maybe a little bit more for the European spots in the league at kind of the tail end of them, but we have a good squad. It's a young squad. We've added new players to it. And well, let's take a look at those players we've added because they definitely make a difference. And well, there's one standout player. We'll talk about him first. I talked about him last episode. It's Marcos Lustau. This guy, Argentine, 21 years old. Definitely our star player in our team. He's here on a 4-year deal and he just looks absolutely incredible. You know, no release fee, which is good news. And hopefully he can just develop. You can kind of see looking at him, he's just the complete package pretty much everywhere. There's just a few attributes below 10. You can see the long throws and the aggression. But with the exception of that, he's just a star player everywhere. And I'm hoping he can continue to improve. I'd like to get his finishing up a little bit. But as a centre midfielder, I don't think you can ask for a lot more in a player. And I'm super excited to see what he can do. Other players we've brought in, we've got in this guy, Kovaciu. He is a Romanian right back. I am training him to play left back as well. And I see him just as a really good kind of versatile option to have on the bench. He's only 19, so young with lots of time to continue to develop. A regular international for Romania as well. And I feel like we got a pretty good deal bringing him in for £4.6 million. Anyway, the next a few players we brought in the centre-back position. The first guy here, I'm just going to call him Ali rather than butcher his last name. But Ali here, very good player, 26 years old. Turkish international with 28 caps, 26 years old. We have had, of course, the problem with the fact that we had Wood on loan last year from Man City at centre-back. And so the centre-back position, an area I needed to get some new players in. And while this is just one of a few players we've brought in there, the other kind of big new centre-back option for £6.5 million is Alexandro here. A good player, signed from Besiktas, got a work permit due to the kind of fee that we paid for him. Of course, I talked a little bit about this last episode if I remember correctly. But if we go to the rules here, of course, we do have the appeal system for work permits where players need to get 4 points, and it's down to stuff like wages, fee paid, and if they have 4 points, they qualify. It's a bit like getting citizenship for some countries. And while Alexandro here, he got his work permit on appeal, and I think he's going to be a good kind of backup centre-back option for us. He's a talented player, and I'm sure he will get a fair bit of first-team football as well as we rotate through the season. The next player we brought in, a bargain buy if you ask me. £3.9 million paid for this guy, Mark Torres, a right winger, 25 years old, a regular international for the USA. Worth noting, in the last few years, he's had loans into the Premier League and not performed perhaps that great. I want to give him a chance here. I think he's got what it takes. I think it's about putting him in the right system. You can see at 25, still a little bit of room maybe to improve. The fact he can play right mid and left mid is very good indeed. Obviously, good versatile option. And yeah, certainly excited to see what he can do. The next player we have, Yildiz here, another Turkish player actually, another backup option as well, can play left back. Yeah, really this year, I wanted to get some strength in depth. We had Nathaniel Klein and Ryan Bertrand both retire at the end of last season, so there was a little bit of a gap in the fullback position. We were quite fortunate last year with a lack of injuries in kind of the fullback area, and so I didn't really have to kind of rely on my backups too much, but this year I wanted to make sure we did have some good strength in depth in those areas. Anyway, the last player we brought in, Matthew Ross, young Australian, was released from the Centre of Excellence. We've picked him up. He had English secondary nationality, so we didn't have to worry about a work permit for him. And yeah, I think he's just a good little centre-back option on minuscule wages. And the fact he's 18 means, well, he's got plenty of kind of years of football left ahead of him. On the outs, there were a few. We'll just go through these real quick. Michaelis Marcu left us for £10 million. He's a good centre-mid option, but with a lot of new centre midfielders coming into the side, £10 million seemed like a pretty good kind of fee to receive, particularly when you consider we brought him in on a free last year. He only started 12 games last season, so yeah, pretty good fee, I think, for a backup player. The next player on the outs, Chucky. He's finally gone, the Nigerian, of course, a player who joined us when we first made our way into the Championship. But over the last few years, he's complained about lack of first-team football. He's wanted a move. He's got that move now to Ligue 1. And one other big player really who left us, Ezri Konsa, has returned to West Brom, the side we signed him from for £2.5 million, and he returns there for £6 million. Really only a backup option. As I already mentioned, we brought in Ross Matthews, the 18-year-old Australian centre-back, And I feel like when you compare the two players, there's not a massive difference really between them. And so to kind of bring in Matthew Ross on a free, not Ross Matthews, and sell on Konsa for £6 million, it's just a little bit of smart business more than anything. Anyway, there are a few other players who left on the outs. James Maddison has left us. Sam Bootie's left us. A bit sad to see, obviously, James Maddison go. But at 29, wasn't getting any younger, not played for us last year. You know, a player who's been here since the League 2 days. A little bit sad to see him go. Did make a handful of appearances during our first year in the Premier League, but you know, at 29 years old, he wants regular first-team football. He's not going to get it here. And as I mentioned, Sam Bootie also left. A talented player, the 25-year-old, but we have an abundance of talent in the centre of the midfield, and there just really wasn't a spot for him in the side, so I decided to let him go. So anyway, looking at our team for this year, it's a big squad. I have got to kind of build anticipation for the African Cup of Nations, which of course is going to be coming up. Another thing worth noting is that when it comes to squad registration, we do actually have a lack of homegrown players, but because we've got so many players under the age of 21 who don't have to be registered, it's not too much of a concern for us, which is kind of fortuitous. But looking at our team, you may have noticed with the transfers, there wasn't a whole lot of kind of new transfers. Looking at it, we spent £42 million. We made £18 million back, so it wasn't really a massively kind of busy summer in terms of actual fees paid. We still have £20 million in the bank, so there is still money to kind of wiggle around, and also the wage budget still has a fair bit left in it if we do want to, you know, pick up a player or two. But for the most part, you know, with the business that we've done, I'm very happy. A few players have got work permits finally. Perhaps the most exciting one, Guy Akusu. He's been at the club for 5 years. He's finally got a work permit. I never thought I'd see the day, but the Ivorian, who has been playing fairly regularly for the Ivory Coast, has got one now. So delighted for him. Other players to get work permits. Juan Carlos Acuna. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised this guy got a work permit because he missed out on the Mexican World Cup squad. I appealed for one. And I guess based off his wages, based off the fact he was playing regular first-team football in Liga MX and playing pretty well, he got a spot. And at 20 years old, really, really like the look of this guy, Acuna. Of course, a number of Mexicans in our side, but definitely perhaps the most exciting one of the bunch. And another few other players who got work permits. Fred Harris got one, so the young South African, 19 years old, a player I want to bet into the first team this year. Of course, we signed him last year and loaned him back to Sundowns. He got 20 goals and 7 assists in 26 games. He was absolutely insane. And hopefully that form can transfer over here. But this is the team, and well, you'll notice we've got a lot of strength in depth, and one thing you might also notice is a change in system. We're mixing things up. You know, I've been content with the same tactical system here at Hereford for a number of years, and I've decided we now have the talent to play, you know, a very different system. And this is the system I want to play. It's a 4-3-3. And it's a 4-3-3 with a fluid and attacking kind of general mentality. If we look at the instructions, it's a narrower 4-3-3. I'm really looking for the wing-backs to look for the overlap, as you can see. Shorter passing. I want to press the line higher so there's less gaps in our team, and we're playing with a higher tempo. I really want to, you know, up the tempo and really press teams high. And for the first time in perhaps a number of years in Football Manager even, I've really been studying our pre-season friendlies, trying to work out, you know, how I want us to play. You can see here, obviously, you saw those general instructions. There are a fair few player instructions, which is something I normally shy away from in Football Manager, but, you know, times are changing. I want to mix things up here, and, you can see a fair few instructions. So we've got Bowman playing inside forward. He's on close down more, fewer risky passes, sits narrower. On the right-hand side, we've got close down more, roam from position on Torres. Lustau and Acuna, these two guys as a centre mid duo, obviously. Lustau, just an outstanding all-round kind of centre mid. Acuna, a very good attacking midfielder. Two very young players. These guys are going to play alongside each other. Lustau, box-to-box midfielder with close down more, gets further forward, moves into the channels. Acuna, close down more, roams from positions, moves into channels. I really want the centre mids to push up together and really reinforce Silla, who is this year going to be playing as a complete forward on support. Slightly further back, you can see here we've got Pinheiro. He's going to be kind of the linchpin in our team. He's going to be closing down less. I want him to sit in front of the back four and not really go chasing too much, dribble less. And he's playing as a deep line playmaker. And you can see with, you know, 17 passing, 17 vision, good tackling, good marking as well. I think this guy can be a really, really good kind of deep line playmaker for us. The wing-backs, or full-backs on support rather, you can see they're on get further forward, pass it shorter, stay wide and run wide with the ball. I'm really looking with our kind of general team philosophy of play narrower for these guys to look for the overlaps. And then the centre-backs, nothing too crazy going on there. As I mentioned, I've taken pre-season pretty seriously here. I've been tweaking away at the tactics. Obviously, we spanked a few smaller teams in here, but a 5-1 win against Arsenal, a 7-0 win against Ajax, a 5-2 win against Shakhtar. You know, this is kind of what I want us to see us doing. It is perhaps worth noting, obviously, pre-season, everyone just going crazy, rotating their sides. But, you know, I really was kind of just looking at stuff like the average positions, trying to work out, you know, how are we going to line up? And if we just look at our starting 11 here, you can kind of see our general shape. You know, the centre-backs here, the full-backs, you know, going a little bit wider, pushing slightly higher up. Pinheiro, deep line playmaker, dropping deeper. And, well, one thing that is pretty interesting about this game as a whole is if we just look at the overview, we won 7-0. We had less possession, but we were happy to let them have possession. And it was really what we did when we didn't have the ball that won us this game. So if you look at it, this is how we played. It's just the 4 at the back, you know, the triangle in the midfield and the 3 forward men. But without the ball, our average position was actually higher and more spread out. And that's really because we were pressing everywhere, particularly the centre mids, really looking for them to force the issue. You know, both wide men as well, really forcing Ajax to play the ball around the back. You can see Ajax really struggled to have the ball in our half. You look at their average position, they just didn't get anywhere. And they had more of the ball here. And they played a very similar system to us. But we just bullied them. And this is something that I'm really looking for us to do this year. You know, we have a very good team. And I really want to see us kind of pushing the opposition and pressing them. You know, you look across, if we just go to our starting 11 here, you look across our team. For the most part, when it comes to our mentals, our work rate's really, really good. You know, particularly in the players you need it to be good in. You see here, work rate, it's kind of, it's not bad anywhere. Great determination, obviously, across the team. The players are going to work hard. And it's, you know, a good team play as well for the most part, particularly on our defenders. They're really willing to kind of, I guess, do their thing. And with our creative forces in the midfield, you know, Pinheiro, 17 vision, Acuna, 14 vision, Lustau, 16 vision. These guys are really going to be able to pick out some nice passes. And I'm really excited to see how the system works because it's the first time for a while, if I'm honest, in FM that I've really gone kind of all in and invested into a new system. Obviously, physically, we've got a pretty strong side for this year. Good, fast team as well. That's very useful when you're pressing for players to have good acceleration. And, you know, technically, it's not a bad team by any means as well. You know, technically, it's a very, very kind of talented side. Perhaps the passing could be a little bit better, but you've got a few players who are superb when it comes to their passing. And as I said, you saw kind of against that game against Ajax, I'm kind of happy to let them have the ball, the opposition, because we're going to make it count when we don't have the ball. The same against Shakhtar here. We beat them 5-2. Again, you know, mass rotation from Shakhtar. It's going to be interesting, obviously, to see if our kind of performances here reflect in this first game of the season against Bournemouth. But I feel like this 4-3-3 system could work quite nicely. One of the big issues that I take, I guess, with a 4-3-3 normally is this space here in the centre attack in mid-area is usually vacated, whereas having Lustau move into channels and get further forward, having Acuna do the same as well, it's pretty useful indeed. And actually, I need to redo my instructions. That's fine. We can do that. I'm pretty excited to see how we get on here. I feel like this is a team that can really, really have a successful year this year. You know, we've not got European football as a distraction. Last year, you know, 8th was good, but in reality, just to miss out on you know, any real cup run was disappointing indeed. What you could see there was the fact I was looking at getting in Nathaniel Klein, our former man, but he only wants to be a director of football, which I don't have a spot open for at the moment, unfortunately. But anyway, let's see how we go on in today's game. We are away from home at Bournemouth, of course, playing at the Bournemouth Stadium, a stadium that was home for us for the last 2 seasons. Of course, we do have our own stadium now. And, well, hopefully we can have a good performance here. This is the first game of the season. The team is pretty much at full strength. I didn't really mention the injuries too much. There are a few. Min-Ki is currently out on the right-hand side, although I do think Torres is likely to start ahead of him. Jonathan Chan currently out injured for 11 days to 2 weeks. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the team we've got at our disposal. You kind of look at our bench now. It's very, very strong. And another player, actually, who's worth a mention, Jeff Valenzuela, an American we signed a number of years ago. He's had a few loan spells here, there and everywhere, really. Got a work permit, finally. And this guy looks like he could be a good little backup centre-mid option. So for my US viewers, you've now got a few representatives in the side with him and also Torres, of course, out on the right wing. But anyway, this is the team we're going to go with. It's going to be Mannion in goal. He holds down his position in the goalkeeper position. At left back rather, we go with Diatta again, the 20-year-old, just a superb player in that wing-back position. O'Neill is going to play at right-back for us. Obviously more of a centre-back naturally, but can play the right-back position. Across the centre-back position, Morales holds down his spot in the first team, the 21-year-old. Alongside him, Ali, the new boy on the block, the Turkish centre-back, a very good centre-back as well. I feel like these two guys can really build up a nice partnership. Ahead of them in the deep line playmaker role, we go with Pinheiro. Obviously great vision, great defensive capabilities for a 21-year-old. A very physical player as well, a bit of steel in the midfield, kind of shielding the defence. The two centre mids, definitely the two players I think to watch this season. Marcos Lustau particularly, I'm so excited about this guy. I think he could be absolutely incredible. Alongside him, we also have, of course, Acuna. I feel like, I really want to call this guy like Acuna Matata or something. I feel like there's some legs there because Lustau's first name does begin with an N. With an M. So maybe we can make it happen. I don't know. It'd be a little bit ambiguous, wouldn't it? Anyway, out on the right-hand side, we do go with Mark Torres in the winger role. If we just quickly compare him with Min Kee, who he is kind of semi-replacing, Min Kee is actually kind of the I guess, better technical player for the most part. But you can see here, physically, Torres has him beat, particularly with the vision. The pace is significantly better. I guess technically and mentally, Min Kee has the break, but those are kind of attributes that aren't necessarily super useful to have in a winger. Anyway, on the left-hand side, we are going to go with Cameron Bowman. He is actually ousting Kasongo from the first team. Bowman, he had a fantastic off-season, the Australian. He got the World Cup Young Player of the Year, the 20-year-old, so I'm super excited to see what he can do. And up top for today's game, we have got Silla, the Ivorian. Had a great first season at the club, 19 goals scored, £11 million, of course, paid. Kind of excited to see what he can do this year. Across the bench, we've got some options. Prince Asamoah, good right-back option, can also play, the centre-mid position. We also have Alexandro, the new signing from Besiktas. Very, very good centre-back option, kind of as a backup there. We then have Jeff Valenzuela, the young American, alongside him. We've got Guy Akusu, who could come on to make his debut. A long overdue debut, as I said. He's been a club kind of player for the last 5 years almost, and, well, he could well make his debut today, finally. The next player we have Mustafa Hamdi, the Egyptian, 21 years old, a very, very talented player, of course. Excited to see what this guy can do going forward. The next few players we have Fred Kasongo, the Democratic Republic of Congo kind of starter. A very good player, but a player, of course, who, does find himself outside of the first team at least to start the season. But, well, he's a pretty good sub to have, isn't he? And the other player we've got, the youngster Fred Harris, 19 years old, South African striker. Very good in the air. That is something that we do lack with our current crop of strikers. He does offer us a bit of a plan B in terms of a player we can really pump the ball to in the box for. But anyway, let's see how we got on in today's game. I'm really, really excited about this season, as I already said. I feel like this new system's going to work nicely. At least that's the plan. And I also really, really like the team that we've got. I feel like we've got so much more strength in depth now. A few players, they've got work permits. The plan's kind of coming together. Players we invested in a number of years ago and have loaned out. They've gained that experience. They've forced themselves into their national teams. They're now coming back here to Hereford and they're ready to play. And, well, hopefully that we're going to have a great start to the season. With the last few years, we've had a very good start to the season. We've gone 5 or 6 games unbeaten in a row. Whether or not that's possible again this year, I guess, remains to be seen. But it'd be great to kind of start off on the right foot and really build some nice momentum here. You may also notice some of you OCD fans who, the squad numbers have to be perfect. I have actually numbered my players quote-unquote correctly this year. So I hope you're appreciative of that. I'm looking out for you there by numbering my players correctly. But, well, we need to defend him. Morales misses the tackle. Ball whipped in. Kishner. It was a sitter for Bournemouth to open up their bank for the season when it comes to their goals. He headed it onto the crossbar. It pings over the crossbar. Well, we've been let off the hook really there, haven't we? Looking at it, we are having slightly more of the ball and we are starting to create more chances. But, well, that warning shot in our direction, definitely we need to remain, I guess, alert to the threat as well. Lustau here, Bowman, Lustau, Pinheiro. This is lovely build-up play. Diatta on the overlap. Can he pull it back? He can. Silla should have scored. It was a lovely bit of build-up play. The passing was superb. Unfortunately, the end product just wasn't quite there. But the ball whipped in here. Headed away by Newton. We have got some pretty good aerial threats. And Cameron Bowman, he has free jumping reach, but he can whip in a good ball into the box. Unfortunately, this time, it gets cleared away. Torres, though, does well to keep it in play. Cameron Bowman, offside there. I thought he was going to be able to cut inside and onto that kind of left foot of his to see what he could do. Unfortunately, however, the ref blows up. And, well, Bournemouth, they live to fight another day. And, well, we've got a set piece to deal with here. Kishner, it hits the crossbar, or not the crossbar, the post. We get it clear. Torres And, well, it's another weird chance. Bournemouth have hit the woodwork twice. We've had warning shots in our direction. It looks like at half-time it is going to be 0-0 unless there's a very, very late sting in the tail here. I want to be kind of optimistic and say so far so good, but we've struggled to create clear-cut chances despite having more of the ball. And, well, Cameron Bowman, he's not had the greatest game on the left. And I think, actually, I'm going to make a half-time sub and bring in Fred Kasongo. If we just compare the two players, there's not a massive difference, really, between them. Kasongo, definitely more kind of well-rounded, I guess. But Cameron Bowman, 20 years old, room to improve. Got that explosive pace, good flair as well. Kind of really suits him well out on the wing and does have better crossing. But Kasongo, come into the side, show us what you can do. He was a good player for us last year, perhaps unfairly losing his spot in the first team. And he has got the number 14, you know, maybe we can have an Henry-esque performance from Kasongo out on that left winger, a vintage Thierry Henry. That's what I'm looking for. That's why I've given him the number 14 out on this left-hand side. That's what I'm hoping for him, but well, we'll see if that plan can come to light in this second half. Time already ticking away here. You can see we're approaching, well, the 60th minute. It remains 0-0, and the longer this game goes on, the more and more I might feel like I have to make a change in this game, really. I mean, 20 minutes left, it's probably going to be now or never. Mark Torres on the right wing hasn't had the greatest of games. I'm going to move Silla out onto the right. I'm actually going to bring in Fred Harris, the youngster, in. I'm not going to make my last change just yet, but this is a really great opportunity for Fred Harris to show us what he's made of. You know, South African, he comes here with a big fanfare. His goal-scoring record last year was superb in the South African Premier League. He's 19. This is perhaps a chance for him to show kind of what he's made of here. But at the moment, time's just ticking away. We've dominated the game. We've struggled to create clear-cut opportunities, unfortunately. But, well, possession has been by far and away in our favour. It just feels like we're not quite able to break them down here. Although there might be a chance. Morella is up to Acuna. Harris, the 19-year-old, turns his man Fred through Silla, and Silla tucks it away. The plan works, moving Silla out onto the right-hand side. Harris, some lovely hold-up play by the 19-year-old. And, well, not a bad way to make your debut. Playing that complete forward role, you know, we need him to drop in deep. We need him to have runners off ahead of him. And, well, it was a lovely run, actually, by Silla on the right wing. The ball through was perfectly weighted, and the finish just slotted away. And, wow, what a fantastic little finish that was by him there. To, well, get our goal-scoring account open for the season. Build-up play nice here, lots of options. Harris holds it up well. You can see the fullback looking on the overlap as well, which is nice. But Silla, he didn't need no help. He slots it away. First-time finish, a lovely shot. Not super easy from that angle. He still had a little bit to do to get it around the keeper, but he's done it well there. And, well, we've had almost 60% of possession in this game. We've been very good. Loose style to whip it in. It's headed away. That's got to be full-time, surely. Surely Bournemouth can't get a goal now. They're trying to bring men forward. Kishner, he could be through here. Can the tackle come in? It's a narrow angle. He's been forced wide. He smashes it over the crossbar. It's going to be a win here. It's perhaps not as emphatic as I was hoping for, but we had twice as many shots. We dominate possession. Diatta, man of the match performance at left back. And, well, that is a very, very good performance for us indeed. I didn't talk about it at the start of the episode, but just so you guys are aware of kind of the expectations for this season. The expectation is to finish in the top half. That is very much what the board expect and want. And if we look at the season preview here, you can see we're predicted to finish 10th. So clearly the bookies do like the look of our team. And, well, hopefully, you know, we can match those expectations and maybe perform that a little bit better. You know, I'm eyeing up kind of a top 6 finish if possible. We did, of course, get 8th last year, although it was kind of, it didn't really mean anything getting 8th other than a tiny bit more prize money because we were still away off the European pace. But, well, not a bad start by any means. And hopefully we can build off that. You can see our games coming up. We've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. They are a newly promoted side. We've then got Manchester United, Watford, Chelsea and Arsenal, followed by Everton, who are newly promoted. And then Middlesbrough, who of course are a bit of a middle-of-the-road team. In terms of when we'll be back, I think it'll be for that Middlesbrough game. They're a team who we played at the end of last season. They are, you know, predicted to do fairly well this year. You can see they're predicted to finish 14th. But they were good last season. I think they could push us all the way. And I do think that'll be an interesting game to come back to. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode from me. Hopefully you have enjoyed as always. If you have, please do smash a like on the video. It is greatly appreciated. I will see you guys next time for the next episode. As I said at the start, we've got 20 million still left in the transfer kitty, or just shy of that, to bring in a few more players. There's a few deals that might be going on. Obviously, you guys will have to stay tuned to find out what's going on there. And yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you for watching. It is me, Jack. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.